Good Wednesday morning, friends, or afternoon, or whenever you happen to be joining. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera to play nicely this morning. There we go. For those that I don't know, I'm Reverend Jennifer Finley, our Momentum and Discipleship Pastor here at First United Methodist Church in Kirksville, and this is our weekly time to take a deep breath, to sit together wherever you happen to be sitting, whether you are in a comfy chair like I am, or on your couch, or outside for a walk. Wherever you happen to be, this is our time to sit down, to take a deep breath, to inhale and exhale together, metaphorically, and to ask ourselves that question we've been asking for, over 3 years now. Where have we seen God at work? Where are we sensing God's movement in our own lives or out in the world? And what has that looked like and felt like and sounded like this week? And today I thought I would wonder a little bit together with you about how God meets us in our memories. I shared last week about a memory that I had with my father and how that had reminded me of some ways God moves in the world. This week, I was struck by a memory I'd sort of forgotten about, actually. It was, I don't know when this was. COVID seems to have kind of broken our sense of time. But sometime in the last several years, I remember coming to you on a live like this, and I was outside in front of our church building, and I was sitting down near a bed of rocks that we have out in our landscaping. It was some like this. And we were talking together about, and honestly, I don't remember which phase of COVID time it was, but there was something that was happening. And I remember talking about how there are times when we collectively, we're kind of going along and things are going smoothly, and our mantra is, we've got this, we've got this, we've got this. And that's kind of how things feel. We're settled, we got this. And then sometimes we seem to collectively hit a spot where everyone is having that moment where, oh no, we don't have this. And we collectively acknowledge that things are challenging, or we don't know exactly how to respond. Now, we were talking about that several years ago in this memory I have. We were talking about that in terms of COVID, as I remember. We were talking about that in terms of all the hard things that were happening in our world at the time. And that memory caught me because I have wondered this week if we're not in a similar spot for different reasons than that. We're grateful that while COVID is still around and people are still navigating that, it's not the thing that's most front and center in our lives, individually or as communities. But there are seasons in individual lives and community lives. And I don't know about you, but I'm sensing that maybe this week has been one of those weeks for many people where we've said, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. And then at some point we wonder, do we really? And there's power in saying that out loud. April and May are seasons of transition and celebrations. Someone I was with this week used the term that it might be the season of cake, where there's so many celebrations that there are cakes all the time, and birthdays, but also spring graduations and life transitions. We say a lot of hellos and goodbyes in all kinds of ways during April and May as our students finish up a semester and move on to the next things for the summer, for our faculty at some place like Truman or ATSU as they finish up a school year and move on to what comes during the summer season and prepare for the next school year. So it's a season where we do a lot of transition, and with that comes joy. But there's also some challenges in those times of transition. And the memory of talking with you about that permission to say, I got this, I got this, I got this, or we've got this. And then to also say, yeah, there are those times when we simply collectively say, I don't know. And in this moment, it's okay to acknowledge that. God met me in that memory of sitting outside and talking with you about that. And that got me to thinking about these rocks. These live in my office because we sometimes use them for worship things. I have some at my Momentum campus ministry office as well, because often what I will do with students as we are nearing a transition, whether it's the moving from the summer into the beginning of the school year, or moving from the end of first semester into Christmas break, or moving from this time of year, from the end of a school year into a summer where we're saying goodbye to some students who are leaving. I often say, we take some rocks, and I often say, okay, pick up a rock, hold it in your hands, and think of all the things that have been part of your life in this season, or been part of our time together as a community for these few months. And think about that. And then think about the things that you don't want to take with you into this next time, into this summer. And I have them put that down, open their hands and release it. And then we go to the rocks and then we say, okay, now pick up a rock and imagine that that represents all of the things that you want to take with you, the things that you want to carry with you out of this time. And we hold that rock. And then we allow that to be a symbol, to be a way of recognizing that there are times when we need to say, what do I want to take with me? And what do I want to leave behind? Even if the transition is as simple as the move from a school year rhythm into a summer. And we're not quite at summer yet, but I'm preparing to do that with my students. And so I thought about us, because I thought about the fact that many of us, I think, are in a season where we're sifting through the things that came into our lives during the last 3 years of COVID times. And we're picking up those rocks and we're saying, is this something that I want to carry with me out of this COVID season? And I want to hold on to it? Or is this something that was for that season and I want to put it down? Sometimes that's simple work, friends, and sometimes it's not. But it got me to thinking that if I were to answer that question for myself, what do I want to put down from the COVID seasons? There's a lot of stress and a lot of worry and a lot of fear that I'm ready to put down, and I imagine you are too. But one of the things that I thought was beautiful that came out of that time, maybe a rock that I want to take and hold and carry with me, is that permission that we all had, we all felt, to collectively acknowledge those times, those seasons, those days when we're going along just fine, and then suddenly we're like, nope, I don't actually have this today. And to actually say that out loud. We did a lot of that collectively during COVID, and we felt we had permission to do that. I hope and pray that as we're sifting through the rocks of what we want to keep from these times and what we want to lay down and let go of, open our hands so something new can come in, that we will keep, that we will hold on to that rock of that permission to be honest with ourselves, to be honest with God, to be honest in our communities. I think that was something beautiful that came out of our COVID times together, and I hope and pray this is something we can keep doing together as a community of faith, particularly. So, wherever this week has found you, whether you are bopping along just fine, or whether you've hit that space in a transition type of season where you're like, I just don't know. No, you are not alone. And if you would love someone to simply acknowledge that with you, know that we are here, this community is here, and we are all in this together. Go in peace, my friends.